Hi there, friends in YouTube land. I've got something for you. Um, this is Dave with Fishing Not Working, and I'm not working. It's great. There's a reason I'm not working. I'll tell you later. Anyway, um, Benjamin Franklin, we all know who he is. He said once, a penny saved is a penny earned. That's a fact. Pennies add up to dollars. Anyway, um, I have been accused of being cheap by my family, but I don't think I'm like a cheapskate. I think I'm frugal, right? Um, if you had parents that grew up in 20s, 30s, 40s, those people knew the value of a dollar. I guarantee it. And they understood a penny saved is a penny earned. It made sense to them. They lived it. But I'm not against using something that's laying around the house for something else. There's no reason to go spend money when you don't have to. So in this video, well, first off, I got a bonus on the back side of this video. Stay tuned, especially if you're younger than me, which is probably most of you. It's interesting. You're going to want to hear this because it will affect the rest of your life. It's something you need to know, especially when you're young. And the more younger you know it, the better it's going to be. But I'll leave the surprise. So we're going to talk about fishing weights. And fishing weights, I tend to make out of lead. Lead is easy. And I make two kinds of weights. I make weights that if I'm fishing from a bank or if I'm anchored and I throw them out there and I want that bait to stay and I want to tighten my line up, keep it tight, I'll make weights that will stay right there. And then I make what we call dragging weights. And dragging weights are if I'm like trolling half mile an hour or less across places where I think the fish are, you want the weights not to get stuck under rocks. So they're slim and narrow, and they'll go over things that other weights won't. They won't hang up, they won't jerk, and they work. So I make dragon weights too, and I've evolved on that. I'll show you my first versions and then my last, which is super easy for anybody. So first thing you need to do is they'll get lead. And lead, tire weights are my go-to. You can get tire weights from especially the small tire shops, the independent tire shops. Go in there and see if they got any to spare, or they'll probably sell you, 10, 20 cents a pound or whatever it is. It's worth it. If you do go there, have a 5-gallon bucket in the back of the car or truck, because they don't like giving up their buckets. Also, lead plumbing in houses that were, maybe 75 to 100 years ago, a lot of lead plumbing in them. If you know of a plumber, talk to him. If he doesn't have it, tell him, hey, if you ever run into anything, save it for me, because that stuff weighs a lot, and you can make a lot of stuff out of just a little bit of plumbing. I have a bunch, several hundred pounds of tire weights I've been collecting. I also make lead bullets, and I will clean the lead up, and I will melt it down and pour it into bullet molds, and then I'll powder coat the bullets, and it works really, really well. And now I'm using some of my bullet lead for fishing weights, so because I got time. Now, the one thing I want to keep in mind, if your spare time is very, very valuable to you, this may not be for you. If you're self-employed and you're working 50, 60 hours a week, just go buy some fishing weights and save the time. Your time is very, very valuable, and spend it with your family. But this may not be for you, but it is interesting, and listen up. I know I was self-employed for 40 years, and I managed every second of my time because it's pulled from all directions. So I get it. But so first thing, you got to prepare this lead. So you take your tire weights, you take your plumbing, you're going to get a pot. Just go to a garage sale and get a pot. Don't matter. If you got a turkey fryer, perfect. Throw the pot on there, get some heat under it, whatever. Throw your lead in there, melt it down. And what you're going to do, the metal clips, any impurities, they float to the top. Get you a big spoon, you know, one of them 10-inch spoons that you get for dipping whatever, salads, I don't know. And skim the top. The metal becomes the top. Just throw it in a tin can. And then what you want to do is take either sawdust or borax soap, and you're going to sprinkle it on top of the lead. And what that does, it's going to catch fire in there, and it's going to melt down, and it's going to bring the impurities and the dirt that's in the tire weights into the lead up the top, and you're just going to skim them off. Okay? Now your lead's good enough to make weights. If I'm making bullets, I'll add the borax soap two more times and really get it clean, because I need, for bullets, a little more critical to get clean lead. But what else I do is I make ingots then, because I'll make a bunch of this up at a time, and I get some metal cupcake pans from like the dollar store, and I will 2/3 fill these cupcake pans, let them cool down, flip them over, dump them, and I make these little ingots. And then when it's time to make whatever I'm making, I got these clean lead that I can pop in, melt down anytime, easy. And I make up a bunch at a time. It's easier that way. The other thing is, if you're going to do this, eye protection is a must, because this stuff splatters. And you get a drop of lead in your eye, and that's not good. It's going to cost you way more than you ever saved. But don't do that. And leather gloves is important. And the other thing is, if you're out, you want to do it outside, don't do it in the house or in the garage. Preferably do it in the wind, and you want to be upwind, so the wind is carrying the smoke and the fumes away. That's important. So the weights I make, pretty simple. Let's see if you can see this. Oh, my fingers aren't working. Pretty simple. This one here is like a 2.5 ounce weight. Okay, very simple, easy to make. That's a little fence wire. Any kind of wire will work, but you can go to the lumberyard and the fencing material. They get rolls, like a 50 foot of rolled tie wire. It's pretty stiff, and I'll just bend it into this little loop, and I'll spring the ends out, and I'll shove it down in my mold. Let me show you my mold. Simple. Remember I said I don't throw anything away? Well, I do throw things away, but check this out. This is a 2x4. That are places I cut with a stepper bit. Okay? I just drill a bunch of holes in a 2x4. Don't go all the way through. I will stagger holes in a 2x4, different sizes for different weights. And I'll put the wires down there. I'll just stick them in the wood. It's not rocket science. You could use paper clips if you wanted to, but stick them down in there, pour the lead, let it dry, flip it over, bang it, they drop out. Easiest thing you ever do. And you can just make all kinds of different size weights. Under 2x4 going this way, drill them, you can almost get to 4 ounces. 3.789 ounces. Now, if you want bigger than that, you can turn the 2x4 on edge and keep drilling down, make it deeper. The deeper you make it, it gets heavy fast. But typically, 4 ounces, I'm good at keeping, even in lakes with the wind coming in at me. 4 ounces weight, works. That's very simple, okay? Nothing to it. And I've made off this piece of wood, I've done it 5 times maybe. Pretty simple. It lasts. Not a big deal. Okay, let's talk dragon weights. Dragon weights, the idea is to drag them through the water, right? Now here is my version of what everybody else is making. This is vinyl tubing. That's a 9mm round. 3/8 tubing. Now this tubing, there's 2 kinds of tubing. There's a higher pressure tubing, and then the cheap vinyl tubing that we'll use. Well, we use it in heating air conditioning, but it's the condensate pumps. But this is a little more expensive. This is a higher pressure. It's a thicker wall tubing. And the idea between this is you get the weight down here bottom, and you get air trapped on top, and it's going to drag this way through the water, okay? And it heads up, so it just goes across the structure down there, piece of cake. And these work. These are just a little more work to make than my next one. Next one's 30 seconds, you make a weight. I'll show you. But this is just this heavier duty tubing. I will put a 9mm or 38 caliber round in the bottom, and I'll put a little glue on it, a little Gorilla Glue, and stick it in there. I'm cheap. I got a pot for making bullets for melting lead, and it's got a nozzle on it, which is very handy for this. But you could do what we've talked about so far, the spoon. A spoon with this one's gonna be a lot harder. But I will hold this up to the end of my pot, and I'll dump lead in it. Now it's gonna get warm, and I got a bucket of water sitting over. I will not submerge the thing, but I'll put the bottom in the water, cool it off, get it cold, then I hit it again. And these are typically 4 or 5 ounces. I can make them heavier, just a little longer. And then what I'll do is I'll take another round, I pop the primer out, I put a string through it, tighten a knot, put a little Gorilla Glue in it, shove it in there. These work. It's just a little more work. No problem. Okay, you wanna go super easy? Even if you haven't got time? This came to me after I was making them. This is as simple as it gets. And I've been using these for the last 3 or 4 weeks. It works. And you might have seen some on some videos. What is that hanging? Check this out. It's brilliant. Tire weight, right? Pop a hole in it with a drill bit. Tie a piece of string on it. If you want a hook on it, go to Amazon, get you some hooks. Now you got a dragon weight. If you lose it, no big deal. The string, you want to go lighter than what you're using. I use 25 and 30 pound test on my catfish poles. And so if you use 10, 12 pound test, if you were to get this snagged, I haven't yet. When I snag the hook. When I'm fishing in the submerged trees, it's my hook that will hook into a branch that gets me, not these. But if these get hung up, just pull it and break it off. That way you don't lose all your hardware. But these are simple to make, and you can get tire weights in different sizes. At first, the steel clip on here, I'd put in a vise and squeeze it down. I quit even doing that. It doesn't matter. Pop a little hole in it with a drill bit. Put a piece of string on it, whatever length you want, it doesn't matter. These work. I've used these also if I anchored, and I'll throw it out there, and they don't do as well keeping your line tight because they're going to drag easy, okay? Where these will hang up in the ground or the dirt or the bottom. These hold better. And you make bigger ones of these, you really want to. If you got a big bait, you may want a 5, 6 ounce sinker. So you're gonna have to get a bigger piece of wood and drill a little deeper, but these work and are cheap. If you just, when you're out walking the dog, if you see one, pick it up. Not a big deal. I got somebody that's bothering me here and wants attention. Bear with me 1 minute. I gotta see what's happening. Okay, this is Dee Dee, my attack trained Chihuahua. I haven't been home much lately, and she's needy. Little Chihuahuas are needy. Anyway, haven't been home much. Wife's in the hospital. Long story, but she had a replacement knee a couple years ago. And knees, believe it or not, I got one too, but knees can become infected. If you get an infection in your body, the infection gravitates toward the knee, believe it or not, especially if you get a cut on that leg and turns infected, the infection can go to the knee. So if you don't catch it, what they do, we didn't catch it quick enough. If they don't catch it, they come in and they take the knee out, they scrape the bones and the infection off of it. You gotta get the infection out of the bone or you'll lose the bones. You scrape all the tissue out. The nurse told me it's like power washing. They take fluid and they clean all your tissue out. And she described it as power washing. I have no idea, but they got it cleaned up. They take a temporary knee. The temporary knees are loaded with antibiotics somehow in it, and they disperse into your bones. And after you're clear 8, 10, 12 weeks later, because you're going, now they send you to a infectious disease doctor, believe it or not. Okay, so they send you there, they clear up the infection, they hit you to IV antibiotics for 6, 8, 10 weeks, whatever it takes. Then you got to go back and do it again. Knees are kind of painful to replace if you're going to have one. It's just, they give you medicine and it really helps. But if you get artificial knee and you start getting inflammation in your knee, if it starts to swell at all, you get pain that you can't, other than the weather changing pain, you get pain that's settling there, get to your orthopedic guy. It's important because if you catch it early, you don't have to go through all this mess. Okay, let's go on. That dog needed some attention, sorry. Okay, I'm back. I lost track of where I was at. But first, before we go there, a word from our sponsor. That's me. Hey, if you appreciate anything you hear, or if you hear anything you like, or even if you don't, it's fine. Like and subscribe. You're doing me a huge favor, and I really appreciate it. I'm trying to get this YouTube thing off the deck. Starting to get started. Not easy, but I got a ton of things floating around in my messed up head. Weird ideas. I try things all the time. And when I find something cool that really works, you'll be the first to know. But here's the bonus info. Young folks, listen up. There's a thing called Rule of 72. Remember 72. It's important. If you were to save, by making fishing weights, $10 a year, okay? $10 a year. There's a thing called Rule of 72. And let's say you invest that $10. And let's say you made, I'm going to keep easy square numbers for math purposes, 10%, which you can do now. I've been making, you know, believe it's 25, 30% for the last year and a half. It's pretty good. But let's just say you make 10% interest. You invest it in a mutual fund or something, IRA, Roth IRA, if you live here in the U.S., Roth, remember that. If you take 10%, whatever percentage you're getting, 8%, 10%, 12%, 25%, divide that into 72. So for the sake of math, 72 divided by 10 is 7.2. That $10 that you invested in 7.2 years is now worth $20. The Rule of 72 tells you how fast your money doubles. So let's say you save some money, $10. You got 10%. 10% divided into 72 is 77.2 years. Your money doubled. You got $20. Okay? Another 7.2 years. Let's say you're still making 10%. We're going to make it easy. Your money doubles again. Now you got $20. Well, now you got $40. Sorry, I'm not a mathematician. That's 14 years. Do it again, 21 plus years. $80. Let's say that you added some money along the way because you saved whatever. It compounds on itself. This is how rich people get rich, and this is how people who are self-employed or do not have benefits like 401ks, this is how you're able to retire. Remember I told you I wasn't working? There's a reason. I retired. That's why I don't work. It's fantastic, but I was able to do that because I had an IRA, and I tried to put money into it. I had some other things, but if you get a Roth IRA now, they didn't have them back when I started, but save your money, because if you don't work for that big corporation with a 401k or the government with a big sweet retirement plan, if you're totally dependent on your survival, use it. IRA, don't forget it. Young folks, if you like that, like and subscribe. Another commercial, sorry. I think that's it. I hope. Any questions? Send me a note. It's cool. I love finances. I love this kind of stuff. I love talking business. But we're talking fishing now, and I'm going to go catch the big one soon. I got to get my wife out of the hospital though first. So, hey, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. very much. And I want to get this thing going. Maybe we can help you. Cool. Okay, tight lines, guys. See ya. Bye.